So,
just so I can do
One
minutes.
question for you. Did you have a dollar amount for us on what was spent on the lounge by the,
yeah, sure, I can do that.
by the
Mhm.
school?
Yep, I can do that. Here's our agenda for today. Right, there we go, back up. Here is the first agenda item. There. And this is the second agenda item. That's there as well. So, all right, so just wanted to, from our last policy meeting, wanted to bring back information where, again, it was, you shared basically some Heartland Lakeside's policies around employee harassment, bullying, violence, intimidation, and protections. This actually is the information in the policy that was shared was WASB template policy in the 500s, which would be then revisited actually this year.
Okay.
So this policy, and when you question about it, it is. So the one pieces that the board will have to think about, and the committee will have to think about is do you have bits and pieces? Because you'll see in the documents, we do have the information. Some of it's in the handbook, there's some in policy. Do you combine them into policy and remove some things from the handbook? A lot of different, variables from that standpoint too. But the specific topics that were brought forward and the information that is shared will be addressed through a policy review this year
Okay,
when we address the 500s.
Okay.
So,
I think the one thing that stood out to me in the Heartland Lakeside policy was the bullying and specifically the cyberbullying, just as things have changed, and you said that was pretty straightforward, WASB?
yeah, it is literally a template from WASB.
Okay,
Yep.
so then it should be a no-brainer, I mean, to discuss it then when we get to the
When we get
500
to the
series.
500s, yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay. Anything else on that? And that'll be something that we'll tackle the 400s first, then the 500s and the 600s, so that'll be something.
Thank you for
January.
the info.
Yep, you're welcome. All right, so then we wanted to, again, a continuation from the last board meeting for specifically to discuss today was possible future employee benefits and compensation review as we look at moving into this year. The request was to kind of take a look at, and what I did supply with everybody, and again, it is linked to the agenda, was kind of how we currently, there's a compensation side of things, about how do we currently compensate our staff, and then also highlighted some of the current benefits that are offered with the district as well too. So again, just kind of wanted to bring this forward, and again, this would be, when we were talking to the team last time, bringing a group of stakeholders together and talking about what is important and how do we gather information about what is important to our individuals. One of the benefits that were talked about was short-term disability, for example, and things like that. So there are a lot of other insurances that can be brought into, obviously a full medical plan, but again, it's ultimately bringing a group of stakeholders together and gathering feedback from our staff about what is important to them. And again, that's kind of would be the first step with that.
Yeah, I think what I think is important in this process is like figuring out from staff, and that's gonna change year to year, person to person. Everybody's gonna have different things that are important to them, but I think getting a sense of like what our current employees are looking at, I think is important, because I think demographically that'll, younger folks might have a different view of things versus seasoned folks that have been here for a while, but just understanding what's important to them, I think would be important. So, I know some of our staff sometimes feel we have too many surveys or we're asking for information, but I think this is an important thing as we're looking at what we're doing. I think I started just doing some Google searches on you know, what type of employee benefits are out there that, you know, businesses are doing, or just in general, not necessarily education, I just kind of said top employee benefits out there. And, you know, so I started making a list on my own, you know, haven't, you know, completed that process for myself, but I think getting an understanding from our staff what's important is good, you know, to start on a baseline. And then, so I think the sooner we can do that in the school year will help us. Obviously, we're looking at our health plan. You know, you've talked to some folks as we're looking at our health plan as to kind of short-term disability, but getting that information and kind of whittling down, you know, and trying to figure out what things cost or don't cost. You know, if it's free, and included in a health plan would be important. So I just think we should get some more data from our staff sooner rather than later, so that we have time, we meaning you and the administrative team have time to gather additional information as to cost and how you, if we did something, how you would roll that out, you know, what do we need to do, how do we communicate that, and so that we can, as we go out throughout this next year, we can put together a comprehensive plan.
And that'll be easy to put together, again, whether it's, you know, taking a look at what are some of those other insurances, and some of them are free to the district, you know, for instance, additional things we offer free already is additional vision, critical illness, accident, hospital indemnity. Those are things that we offer as an employee, but those are employee paid opportunities too. So if you would offer a short-term disability policy, does it become part of, you know, is it combo with LTD, or is it something that is employee paid? So all the way from, again, I was talking to some people and they're like, Ron, it'd be really great if you offered pet insurance. Okay, well, you know, so that's, you know, those are the things I think, Andrew, that you're talking about is okay, what is out there? What do employers offer? How do we see what's important to people? We certainly can pull together a survey for that.
I agree, I think you're right as far as, again, like, do we contribute some, or is that just 100% employee? You know, because again, I know for my sake, there are things that, you know, an employer pays part of, but there are also things in my benefit package where if I want it, I pay it all.
Yep, exactly, and that's what we have too.
So just, and then the key piece as we go through this is to then how do we communicate that, and, you know, to our staff. That's the key piece.
Yep, we can do that.
And do you think a survey, or do you think a roundtable discussion?
When you got 100 staff members?
100 staff
I mean, so getting them to come to I think it'd be a challenge to get 100 to come. You'd probably just get a handful.
And who's crafting the survey?
I would, it basically, again, I can share it with you guys, and again, ultimately would be around, hey, what is important to you? Whether it be a ranking system, you know, a yay or nay. I think it gets difficult for people to come and kind of voice some of their, you know, hey, I would like additional insurance for, I'm just gonna use the example, and I spent, you know, about 30 minutes on the football field with a gentleman who sells fertility. It's part of a fertility and expanding family insurance as part of a fully fledged medical plan. You know, there's additional dollars that go to that. And again, but it's additional dollars. It's something that I don't think people can opt into, but that would be something where I would put that on a survey to see if that is important to our staff, enough to say, hey, maybe we do need to start taking a look at that. But it'd be very difficult, I think, for somebody to come and say, hey, I really like that.
All right.
Just a sensitive topic.
No, I understand.
But no, I can easily put a survey together with all sorts of different employee benefits and opportunities that we would have. And again, that's working with the insurance center, some other things, so I can easily do that. And I can have that ready to go early in the school year. That's actually something we could probably do even before the school starts, because it wouldn't take long.
As long as everyone's logging in and checking emails so that nobody feels that they weren't aware.
Oh, no, that would be something that we could easily roll out. Maybe
Okay.
I can communicate that, I'll have everybody there, everybody be back on campus this week.
And leave
too,
a
so.
space for them to add something if it's.
What are we
missing.
missing?
Alright.
Missing? Certainly. I think that's really the first start to it.
Okay,
I will work in the next couple of weeks to get you
Okay,
things that I
sure.
come up with that, again,
Sure.
just nothing scientific, this is just Google searches.
Google search, yeah.
And looking at different articles and different
Mhm.
things and writing down things that people are putting in these articles as to, either employer paid or opportunities for people. But yeah, I'll do that.
I'll start putting something together too, and I'll share it with the policy committee.
Okay.
All right. All right, finally, I just kind of wanted to review kind of the plan moving forward into this year. And we do have the 400s, 500s, and 600s as we move forward with it. I'm sorry, I did switch that around. I would like to start with the 600s. Again, that is the fiscal policies. That's to you guys, if that's okay. Again, those are pretty straightforward. Again, we'll use WASB as our guide in our frame from that standpoint. Then ultimately the 400s, we go with the 400s, and then ultimately into the 500s as well. So, but again, the 600s is a nice easy roll into. Again, we would require a lot of staff feedback on that. Again, because right now, the staff, again, to your point, like you said, we don't want to survey them to death, but right now they're pretty busy.
Sure.
With start of the year stuff, so
Okay.
we start with the 600s. The other piece that we will review in combination with the 600s is the state of Wisconsin has required us to adopt a new retention schedule for records, okay? We have a schedule, and if they always said if you don't have a policy, you fall back to state statute, but I'll be bringing that to the board, so we do have something on the books. There are a couple options for the board to consider. And again, WASB will have a recommendation with that, but again, I'll show you what the options are too. So at our next policy meeting in September, I'd like to bring some of the 600s as well as the records retention schedule policy moving forward.
Okay. And do we have a date set for the next meeting?
All right.
12th through the 21st are out for me.
Through the 21st.
Mm-hmm.
What about? Did you want to do something that week, first week of school? 7th or 8th? Can do the 11th too, if you wanted. My only fear for the
11th will be
22nd.
hard for me.
Okay, because my only fear for the 22nd is, and we could do something in October, so we'll be fine if we don't do anything in September, unless we wanted a touch point to talk a little bit about the, the employee benefit survey and things like that. But my only concern is I want to make sure we get information to you guys and ultimately for the board to review.
Right.
So that's why the 22nd would be kind of pushing it.
Can you do the 7th or 8th?
Yes.
Do you have a preference? I can make
7th.
either work. 7th?
7 a.m.?
Sure.
Okay. All right, I'll start working on some policies. Okay, I'll send the invite.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay. All right, anything else for future agenda items? The board to consider, the policy committee to consider?
No, I would like just keeping the discussion and update on kind of employee benefits,
Yep.
compensation, PTO, that whole thing on every agenda. So
Yep.
that we, even if it's just a short, hey, we're having
Got it.
discussions with providers, or I'm doing additional, research, waiting for some quotes, et cetera. I just think, let's keep that on. Understanding that sometimes in the month, when we get together, maybe a quick update.
Got it.
Sometimes it may be more detailed as information is gathered from the sources.
Sure. Okay.
And you have the sign 6603?
Yep, I do.
Okay.
Thank you. Yep, all right, we are done.
Thank you.
Thank you.